Hi, this is Rabbi Tzvi Mandel, Kahal B'nai Yisrael, community of good, community of Jewish friends. So right now we will continue studying the first chapter of Ethics of Our Ancestors, and we're up to the 10th Mishnah. Shmayan of Talion received the Torah from the previous teacher, previous tzaddik, the Tana. Shmaya, we'll say it first inside in Hebrew, then we'll go back. Shmaya Omer, Ahavas Amlacha, Shmaya says, love to do work, Usnas Arabanis, and despise of being a overlooking leader. Should we say a Rabbanis doesn't mean a rabbi specifically, but any power over people. And the last thing is Valtisvala Larushis. Don't rely on politicians. And we'll go over it again. Shmaya and Avtalia were two, either they were converts themselves or they came from generations of converts. And I want to tell you something. The beautiful thing about converts is that a convert is one who chose the true way how to worship Hashem. Doesn't matter where they come from. And Shmaya and Avtalia happened to come from Sancheriv, who was one of the worst political leaders who tried to take over the whole world, Sancheriv. And one of his great ways, quote unquote, to take over the world was he made big wars all over the world and placed citizens of one country in another country throughout the whole world. That way his plan was that no one will be comfortable or feel special about where they are, and so they won't have any feeling for where they are, and they won't have any solidarity for where they are. End result was Hashem punished them, and it disappeared. So they were grandchildren of this Sancheriv, Shmaya and Avtalion, and they converted to Judaism. And as we know from the Torah, Yisro was Moshe's father-in-law, who not only was a great, great righteous person, but had the special honor of being the father-in-law of the greatest leader in Israel forever and ever and ever. Moses is the teacher of all the Jewish people forever and ever. And he himself gave Moshe advice, of which Moshe said was good advice, so that sometimes someone from the outside could give good advice. And if we're humble enough, we listen to everybody's advice. So Shmaya and Avtalion were great, great leaders of the generation. One was a head of a bezin, of a Torah court. One was a nasi, the head of the generation. And Shmaya comes from the word shomea. It says he was willing to hear what others have to say. And Avtalion, Talia, means a father of. He was the father of, when he was young, he was the father of the young and lost orphans and homeless people, and he helped get them back into society. So though they were great leaders, but perhaps because of their background, they knew how to be humble enough to reach out to people that didn't have the opportunities that regular Jews or people from regular homes had. So they tell us as follows. First thing Shmaya tells us, because the next one will be Avtalion, Shmaya tells us, one should love to work. And even if someone has an inheritance and a lot of money, or he worked hard, and now at age 40 or 50, he wants to retire and do nothing and just hang out, it's wrong. The Talmud tells us that Rav said to Rav Kahana, do any minimal type of work just so that you know that you're working and you're making a salary. There's a number of issues here. First of all, a person shouldn't hang out doing nothing because it brings bad things, obviously. And B, a person to feel accomplished and good about themselves, that Hashem is shining his smile on them and loves them, and they come home with a check. This is also very important. One of the students of the Baal Shem Tov, the Holy Baal Shem Tov, told him, you know you don't have belief in Hashem. And he said, what? My whole life I'm working on my belief in Hashem. And he was so bothered by what his teacher told him. And the Baal Shem Tov says, I know you have Emunah in Hashem, but you don't believe in yourself. And one who doesn't believe in himself doesn't have enough belief in Hashem, because he has the attitude that God created an unimportant person, one that doesn't have value. And as we mentioned a number of times already, Shlomo Kalina said that the worst sin is one who doesn't believe that he's a prince, that he's a Ben Melech or a princess. This is the greatest sin. Perhaps they're both connected, because the greatest thing is to have belief in Hashem, right? And to rely on Hashem and have betachon in Hashem, and knowing that I'm so special to God. So, you should love to do work. Next thing is usnas or abanis. Don't be a manipulator. Don't be a manipulator. One can be the greatest leader in Israel, and it shouldn't affect him. It's what we call einay machzik tova la'atzma. He doesn't thank himself for all the good that goes on. Thanks Hashem, who made him a catalyst to do good. That, yes, nothing wrong with being a leader. But always, always, a leader has to remember not to become haughty, not to become a manipulator. And the last thing he says is, don't come on to politicians, because, as we all know, when they need you, they're your best friend, and when they don't need you, who are you? They don't even know you. So the three comments are simply advice for good life. And with good life, we could worship Hashem in a much more joyous and appreciative way. The next Mishnah, Avtalion, that was the other one, the other descendant of converts, and he said, Chachamim hizaru b'divrechem. Teachers or scholars, when you're teaching, be careful in the words you use. Why? Because maybe one of your students, because of his sins, will have to go out to exile, or yourself as well. And you'll have to go to a place where there's bad waters, meaning people that don't have the great attention and good intention that you do have. And somehow, their students will drink from these waters, and they will die spiritually. And the result will be that Hashem's beautiful, good, holy name will be desecrated. What is the Mishnah talking about? Avtalion is teaching us that one who is teaching, whether it's Torah, whether it's anything, must be careful in how he counts words. We had a couple of Mishnahs ago Antigonus, who said you should worship Hashem not because of the reward. And there were two students that understood from that there is no reward. And so they started their own movement of only following the written Torah and not the oral Torah, the Tzedukah and the Baisusim. And it all happened because of them not understanding what the Rebbe said, what the teacher said. Drinking the waters, we learned in the beginning of this chapter that the true way how to teach, especially Torah, but anything, is that students should drink the waters thirstily. Thirstily meaning wanting so much to understand more and more and more, and the teacher should be understanding enough of each student and every group of students. What is this thing that makes them want to drink it like a thirsty person? Someone who just finished drinking is not thirsty. B, the teacher himself has to be thirsty for the learning. Because if to him it's not important and it's petty, then that feeling will go over to the student. B, the students, young students, and I don't mean young, I mean young in their not being experienced or being wrong in their attitude to studying. Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, in the beginning of his Mesilas Yesharim, says one of the greatest Kabbalists and ethicist teachers writes that young students, when they know a little, they think they know everything already, because they don't have the thirst. They haven't experienced the great joy and specialness of being connected to what they're going to learn. They say a little education is bad for one that doesn't know how to use it. So we want our students to drink thirstily, and it has to come from our love and thirst for learning, and B, it has to come from the students wanting to learn and be thirsty, and that way they'll accomplish. Otherwise, God forbid, not understanding what they're studying has made many problems over the years throughout Judaism until today, where we have groups that, I don't want to say anything negative, that either don't believe in God himself or diluted teachings, and it's a shame, because all those good people out there deserve to get the truth in a loving and special way, so that Hashem's name should be sanctified and not desecrated. The next Mishnah are the students of these great teachers, Shmaya and Avtayin, Hillel and Shammai, very famous people. Hillel says one should be a student of Aaron the priest. Moshe and Aaron were brothers, Moses and Aaron. Ohev Shalom, you should love peace. V'roidev Shalom, and you should run after peace. Seek out peace. Ohev Sabrias, love Hashem's creatures, and Mekavan the Torah, and bring them close to the Torah. But one of the most fundamental principles of Judaism is one should be humble to God, humble to the Torah, and humble to the Jewish people, which brings unbelievable love to all the three. And just as we find by Aaron, he was so humble that when two people came to him in a dispute, he would tell each one privately, do you know how much your friend loves you? And somehow that it infused a love in this person's heart for the other person who we thought was his enemy. And then he went to the other person and did the same. And the next time they met each other, they hugged and kissed and became friends again. The question is, how could Aaron do such a thing? A, how does it happen? How do I do it? How do you do it? And B, how could one lie? Especially, we don't believe that the catalyst for doing something good could be something evil. On the contrary. So the answer to the first question is that when one person speaks to another person, just as we mentioned by a teacher and a student, there are invisible messages going from one person to the other. Should we call it spiritual vibes, whatever you want to call it. But the two people speaking to each other, the neshamas are connecting, the Zohar says. The souls are connecting. Yes. Just like Hashem, when he gave us the Torah, he says that Anoichi, I am Hashem, you Hashem. Ani nafshi kayahavis. I am giving my soul with every word of the Torah. And that's so beautiful because every word and not only every great idea, but just every syllable, every word of the Torah is God's neshama giving it to us. So too when a person speaks to another person. They're giving neshama to the other person. They're connecting in a very high spiritual way. So if you're Ohev Shalom, like Aaron HaKohen was, if you love peace, for the sake of Hashem's peace, then you will give it over in a way that the other person will be so infused that two enemies could become friends from the way he described one person to another person. And the second lesson is Roidev Shalom. One should seek out Shalom. It's easy to sit at home and, talk about peace and philosophize and peace and love and, everything's great. But if you don't do anything about it, it ain't worth much. It's great. You're a good person. But what are you doing with all this love? So one must seek it out. And the first way how to seek it out is when one is peaceful within himself, meaning that everything that he does, speaks, and thinks about is how to seek out peace. And the epitome of peace, the lesson of peace is the Torah. Because God says, Kol Nesivei Shalom. God says, there are many ways how to worship me. Every page in the Talmud is an argument between one tzaddik and another, Tanoim and Amoraim, and they loved each other so that one would give his life for the other one. And the Talmud speaks about how one had one view, the other had the other view, and they respected each other. And that's the lesson for us. Love peace, seek out peace, do something about it. And the point of all this stuff is to love Hashem's creatures and to bring them closer to Torah. This third Mishnah, and this will be the last for now. Hillel used to say, Negid Shmei Avad Shmei Udla Moisef Yosef Udla Yalav Katol Chayev Ud Yishtamish Batoga Chalav. One should know when suddenly he's getting all kinds of honor and covet and respect, and he's taking it the wrong way, it's going to his head, it's not going to last too long. God forbid, the Mishnah says like he's going to die. It doesn't mean literally die, but it's means that somehow he'll fall all over himself. And the Mishnah says that one should be steadily always studying Torah. Person starts studying, depends on his age and his place. It's hard to give a rule, but whether one is starting as an elderly person starts with studying 15 minutes a day. And if one studies Torah, then he adds to the Torah. As he grows and matures, because Torah is the love of God to us. Torah is, as we said, Hashem's neshama. And whoever doesn't add, God forbid, he's going to lose life. It's like he's dying, God forbid. And the last thing the Mishnah said is that if one uses the Torah in the wrong way, then it's one of the worst curses that people have and brings a lot of bad to the world. I don't want to end with this because we don't want to end with something bad. So what we will say is that in today's world there's so much studying going on. Thank God, Baruch Hashem, that's good. But like my dear father used to say, it's good, you're studying Torah. But what is the Torah teaching you? In Yiddish it's better. Learning could mean to learn, and learn could mean to teach. So die learns Torah, you're learning the Torah. But was lernt dich the Torah? What's the Torah teaching you? We'll stop here for now.